Right, batteries ran out of the last grip. I haven't used my camera for ages, so I've had to dust it off and everything to get it out again. Basically, right, I was talking about the theory of everything and how it should be accessible to everybody. It shouldn't be, in my opinion that is, it shouldn't be reserved for the highest echelons of human understanding. It shouldn't necessarily have to be too deep or rely on a deeper explanatory base. It doesn't assume anything, and I think the main problems that I encounter with pro theory is the fact, number one, it's called pro theory, which is my name, meaning that that gives it a human element, as in I wrote it, I created it, and I think people think it belongs to me somehow, and because it's not an idea, it comes across as a person, or a person has written it, and that seems to put people's backs up slightly, I think. I don't know. I'm not saying people insult me very often, although it has happened. Um, I'm just saying that I think that's a bit of a problem, is the human element with this, really, because, as I say, it's called pro theory, which actually stands for positive reacting opposites. Positivity, meaning the main point of this theory, ultimately above everything, is positivity. In the most general sense you can get, is positive reacting, which means change. A reaction means a change in this context of pro theory, P-R-O, okay? Positive reacting opposites, because when opposites react, as in you get opposites together, there's a neutral point in between, and that sums up the negative, positive and neutral. Also, pro, 3 words, P-R-O, okay? 3 words, 3 potentials, negative, positive, neutral, protons, neutrons, electrons, etc., etc. Okay, right, so that's one problem with pro theory. Another problem is the linguistic argument, which I've just been talking about, because I tend to say, oh, plus neutral, plus the opposite, plus neutral. I say, as such, when I write about this a lot, I say, so to speak, which I try and explain is to cover myself, quote unquote, which basically means if I say, this is a theory of everything, and that's singular, and people can say, in fact, it's not because this argument, or it's not due to such and such an argument, or physics theory, or mathematics, or whatever. But in reality, in order for it to be a theory of everything, it's going to be pretty abstract, isn't it? Because think how abstract everything is. To me, everything actually encompasses everything, nothing, which is the opposite to everything, and neutral simultaneously. See, that's the point. And also, as I've said, pro theory adapts to change, you see. So every argument, it adapts itself. So there isn't a single, important word here, single argument that you can sort of pin me down on when I'm talking about this theory and discussing it on the various forums that I go on. And when I'm on video and stuff, and the comments I get on my videos, people think, oh well, and they come up with singular arguments, and I can understand that, I really can, but if you're coming at me when I've got 3 answers and you're giving me 1 answer, that means I had 2, and it loops. I'm going to say as such again, I'm sorry, I can't, this is really difficult, you see, to put into words, I suppose, which is also a bit of a cliche thing to say, but that's that. It is difficult for me to put into words. I'm a real person, you know, and I do find it difficult to write about and talk about this. But this is like my life, really. This is what I've dedicated my life to do. And this is what I spend all my time thinking about. Whenever I'm at work and I'm bored or whatever, I'm always thinking, oh, what about this? What about that? If I get a long comment from someone, I'll quite often print it out, take it to work, read it at dinner time and stuff. And I think, right, okay. And I'm always trying to think singularly and think, how would this seem to someone as singular? And then add the opposite plus neutral. I know this is annoying, but in order for a theory of everything to answer everything every single time, it has to answer 3 things. One thing, and neutral in the middle. Unless we do that, then we can't really have a theory of everything. I don't think. Okay, now that sounds like I'm saying something singular, but if I said, we can't have a theory of everything, but we also can plus neutral, it gets confusing, so I have to allow some kind of singularities in my speech, really, just for the sake of basic communication. Because as I quite often quote myself on on various essays and things, like I say, on these forums. I go on discussing pro theory and stuff and theory of everything. I quite often say, look, I don't say my name's pro, not pro, plus neutral, pleased to meet you, for example, which would just be ridiculous and people would probably laugh at me. So I do live singularly in some senses, but this is like a special case, the theory of everything. Obviously we have to lead a normal life, and obviously 2 plus 2 is 4 if you're in a shop. If you're in a shop and you buy a chocolate bar for 20p, it's 20p, it's not 20p, not 20p plus neutral. That's just not going to cut it in a shop, is it, for example? The same goes for mathematics and everything else. I mean, if you're turning left on your sat-nav or something, you can't turn left, right and straight on simultaneously, can you? Obviously, but when it comes to the theory of everything, these are possibilities, you see, and this is what we need to take into account. We need to consider the abstract possibilities at all times. This is the whole point of my theory of everything, adapting to change. Because usually, almost all other physics theories, even if they do take into account opposites, such as, I don't know, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, which is an extremely good thing to say, but it doesn't take into account the neutrality present, and that's the problem, you see. So people talk about gravity. There was a programme on English TV last night about gravity, and I don't know, I'll be honest, alright, it winds me up, because I'm a human as well. I've got sort of feelings, and I've got a few opinions left, I suppose, and I knew what it would be about. I'd be saying, we can't possibly understand gravity, it's a mysterious force, and we can't possibly understand what it means and how it works and all this. And I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute, there's 3 forces, 3 things, 3 types of chains, 3 whatever it is, in the universe. If you look at gravity, gravity is an attractive force, as I've said many, many times on other videos as well and stuff, you know. Gravity is an attractive force, therefore, the person who invented gravity, Sir Isaac Newton, okay, said for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, therefore there is an opposite to gravity, which means a repulsive force, which is the opposite to an attractive force. So we've got gravity, attractive, the opposite to gravity, repulsive. Okay, and that's where it usually stops. Okay, but we add neutral, we've got a theory of everything, because there's 3 things, okay? If you look at me now, right down here, you can chop me in half perfectly. Then there'd have a left side, a right side, and nothing in the middle, which is neutral, because there's nothing there. It's the point between the 2 opposites. Okay, this remote control I'm playing with in my hand. Okay, I don't know if you can see that or not. You can see why there's a button in the middle. There's 2 opposites there, okay, opposites there. You see, you could split it down the middle, down there. We've got 2, we've got nothing in the middle. It's the same for everything, as I've said before, the joints on your hands. Why do you think a triangle is the strongest shape in the world? You know? Because it adheres to the 3 points at all times. We could have 4, we could have a square, but it's not as strong as a triangle, because it's only adhering to 2 opposites rather than the 3. And that's the thing. I mean, I'm getting a bit off topic here, I suppose. I haven't made any videos for a very long time, really. It's probably about, I don't know, 3 or 4, maybe even 5 months, really, because I moved to this new house and I lost my old filming room. And that's what I want to say, really. I'm going to try and think of some more stuff to say about theory of everything, because it's a really interesting topic, and it's about time I got it right, really, for the point of clarity, if nothing else, really. And I do want this to be accessible to every single person. I don't want this to be a specialist subject where you have to spend 10 years at university to even comprehend what I'm talking about or something. And I know it blows people's heads a bit because I'm saying 3 things at once and people just aren't used to it, I suppose, but it's no good having a mental block, really, when you need to try and adapt to change to have a theory of everything, which, as I said, is abstract, but it's important to know everything, to know the root of everything, and then we can think in singularities, but not until, in my opinion, anyway. And I'm up to my 10-minute limit now, so unfortunately I'm going to have to cut this off, this video, and then I'll make some more as soon as I'm able to. I don't know what I'm going to talk about next, but I'll try and keep clear and keep on topic.